YouTubers, Troz here, back with some more Satisfactory. This is kind of an update video. I think this may be a bit on the shorter side, hopefully, than some of my other videos. But yeah, earlier this week they've moved the experimental branch over to early access, and I don't think anything new was added, but I did miss a few small things. And I've been doing some work in the meantime, and yeah, this is basically to show off what I've been doing and what my plans are. Yeah, let's look at the plans first, and then I'll show you what I've set up here. So we already set up a motor line, and this produces 90 motors per minute. And we've set up a heavy modular frame, and this produces 24 heavy modular frames a minute. So, of the things that were originally in the game at launch, I wanted to also set up a supercomputer line. But things have changed a bit now with supercomputers. I originally was going to build 12 supercomputers per minute, and that would have basically maxed out how much Caterium we could mine. But since the experimental update has come out, they've added quartz, and that can make making computers easier. There's also a new alternate recipe that makes that easier. So now the plan is to make 24 supercomputers per minute. That's kind of twice what I originally was planning. The big thing that makes that easier is crystal computers. You can now, with 2 circuit boards and 1 oscillator, make 1 computer. Well, I'm not sure if that's a faster rate, but it's a lot less materials than normal. The normal took a lot more, is like screws and plastic and stuff, and even with the quick wire computer, which was what I was going to use, you're still using a little more than 3 circuit boards and a lot of quick wire and a lot of rubber, which meant a lot of oil. So this greatly reduces your oil and reduces your oil and greatly reduces your quick wire needed. But you do need crystal oscillators, which need quartz. Luckily, our base is right near a source of quartz. Additionally, to make cartridges, you need quartz. Click visualize here. The crystal oscillators are needed to make the Nobelisk. And yeah. This is kind of nice. It's just things aren't completely lined up. They overlap a bit, so you may need to maneuver things to make it look better. That's pretty good. Not sure how readable this will be. Yeah, I can zoom in, but then it doesn't. I wish you could drag that. Let's go one little closer. That may be readable after everything's compressed. But yeah, since this needs quartz, and this actually needs more quartz, if you didn't notice, I'm going for the incredibly insane 800 cartridges, or really it's 800 bullets per minute, which would also allow us to make 200 Nobelisks a minute. But yeah, it's not that insane in that hey, you only need 2 full belts, 2 Mark IV belts of raw quartz. So that it's not that much, and it's a little more than a full belt of rubber, and slightly more than a Mark II belt of plastic. and you know, just slightly more than a full belt of sulfur. So it is completely doable. um, but I'm planning on sharing this. Basically, the quartz will be either for this or for the supercomputers. The supercomputers actually need less quartz. They only need 640 a minute, and they need a lot more oil. But like, hey, I'll just, you know, when I'm not running the supercomputers, I can run the cartridge, and it takes only a fraction of this. Yeah. So for this, the main thing we need is oil. Quartz, but as I said, quartz is really easy. There's 2 pure nodes close by, so we can get 900 a minute easily. You know, because we're now using the crystal oscillators, we need a lot less. Like with 12, I think we would have needed 2 full belts, like almost 900 a minute, and now we don't even need 1 full belt. We do need some copper though. You need copper ingots with the deuterium ingots to make quick wire using the alternate quick wire recipe. Otherwise, we would need a lot of this. But this is less than 2 full pure nodes, and that's not too bad. The biggest problem is the crude oil. Let's look at now. Let's quickly visualize this. You should be. Yeah, this is all overlapping kind of poorly. Move you around like that. It's hard to get this right, but you get iron and some copper to make iron ingots. It's actually not that much of each, and then you make wire out of that. You need the most copper though, just for copper ingots to make the quick wire. That's going to be, well, 2.5 belts of Mark IV, but that's entirely doable. I'll show you in a minute. We get raw quartz to make the crystals and crystal oscillators. You need some oil to make rubber. Some oil. A lot of oil. And you need about the same amount of oil to make plastic. You make high-speed connectors with some of the plastic and the cable. You make the AI limiters with some quick wire and some circuit boards. The rest of the circuit boards then go into the supercomputers with the AI limiters, high-speed connectors, and plastic. So where are we getting all this stuff? Let's check the map. Alright, our factory is in this area. One of these two, this is the deuterium ore, is covered with a rock. We can blow that away now, not a problem. We're using the other one just to make the quick wire for a few things like the Mark II electric poles. This one we've also already tapped and have coming over here. We can tap this one and bring it in as well. We're gonna need these 2 copper and 2 of these iron we're already using. Here's the 2 quartz. So we have iron free. This copper I'll probably use, and this copper I'll probably use, and that should just about cover our copper. Um, and then here we got sulfur here. That covers everything except the oil. Well, and the power. What are we doing for oil? Well, that has changed. Let's zoom out a bit. I was originally planning to use all this oil, but this oil is no longer here after this update. This oil now has been moved to this area. There's 10 different spots kind of spread out over this area. I'll be showing you that shortly, hopefully. But that's not enough. That's enough for either the plastic or the rubber, but not both. So I started setting up over here as well. And this is more than enough of the other material. But we need more power. I don't know if you noticed, but the power estimate of this, well, is greater than, well, it's more than double than what we were producing already. Luckily, they put in some new power options. And, well, I've set some stuff up for that. You can take coal, and in particular, I'm using one of these coal nodes here, and sulfur, I'm using this sulfur node. Notice we have another sulfur node here that we can do this with if we want. And using 2 coal and 1 sulfur, you can make what's known as compacted coal, and that burns twice as long. Actually, well, I'm not sure how long that burns. I'm not actually using it. Once you make the compacted coal, you can combine compacted coal with fuel to make turbofuel. And normal fuel in a fuel generator lasts for 5 seconds, where the turbofuel lasts for 13, more than twice as long. So we were using these 4 oil nodes, making fuel out of them, and running 6 generators off of each. I believe I have these with crystals up to 200%, which is how I was doing that. Once combined with the turbofuel, if my calculations are correct, I can run 16 generators off each. And that is what I am doing. So let's show that off, then show you what I've done with the oil, and that's all I have planned. So actually, let's go back real quickly. So I think I'm on this right now on the map. It's a convenient high point to show you everything. It also happens to have a crash site. There's the space elevator. I'm way north of it. There's my factory. You can see it from here if I zoom in enough. And where that radio tower is where I used to start most of my recent videos overlooking the factory. So, this is that sulfur node. We're digging up here. There's the coal is over there. We're combining them over there, making the compacted coal. Let's fly over there. Unfortunately, this area is covered with poison, so a little dangerous. I use quite a few gas masks. Well, a few gas masks, let's say. 'Cause I had to clear out some bad guys and then build that. Luckily, I was able to put in the conveyor belt while standing off out of the way. that one right there is a little annoying because its gas does extend up onto this little, whatever this is, outcrop. So, yeah, fly over there. So you can see I have 8 assemblers set up here, making the turbofuel, compacted coal. Takes 30. 1-to-1. I thought I had. Okay, there is I guess the alternate recipe. I'm not sure where you get the main recipe. I probably need to go back to the hub to unlock some stuff. Because there was a few things that you were supposed to have from research that if you had already researched, you didn't have. But they did say they unlocked it, you just have to like pay the unlock price. But yeah, I got the alternate recipe for this. It actually makes it more efficient, I believe. Anyway, we got these all combining together into one 450, and that goes all the way down there, which you can't really see right now too well because it's foggy, but you can see I have a lot more generators off in the distance. Let's head over there and check that out. I have my convenient buggy here, as long as ooh the game doesn't hitch up on us too much. This is actually a little convenient. There's a nice kind of ramp down to where we need to go. You can see the belt above us. I should pick that up, but a little framey here, because there is a lot of machines, but I basically had to almost completely tear this apart and rebuild it, but it was quite worth it. I actually also now have hooked this second factory's power system up to my first factory, because my first factory is producing 2 gigawatts on its own. So yeah, could always use the spare 2 gigawatts. So that's the belt coming down from making the compressed coal. Once the autosave kicks in, there we go. For each oil pump here, we have that being split off to 2 fuel factories, and each fuel factory then supplies 2 assemblers here. That each takes 18.75, which is exactly half, which is 37.5 fuel being made from each oil refinery. Combines that with 15 compacted coal per minute and gives you 18.75 turbo fuel per minute. But each of these lasts 13.3 seconds or so. So this whole output of 4 can now run 16 fuel generators, which we have up here, because there was nowhere near enough room. Yeah, this is the first one I set up. It's just kind of awkward laid out. Where's the... oh yeah, it comes up here and then kind of goes around the whole outside. In fact, this is the last one. But like over here, I left the ones I had on the bottom, and there was 6, and added a the other floor with 10. But this side, I kind of totally redid. Ooh. Yeah. There were 2 over here, but I moved them all over to here. Basically, we have now 1 line coming over here, feeding a few on the bottom, and or 6 on the bottom, 10 more on top. Then this one feeds 3 on the bottom. There were it's actually 1 kind of up here, and there were 2 over there. But basically, I fit then. Actually, I think I have 16 on top for this one, and I actually have a storage container, basically just to back up and run some excess in case it's needed. It shouldn't be, but yeah, just in case. That should have enough stored to run for quite a few number of minutes. You can see we're now producing 16 gigawatts and change, and we're only using 60 or 700-ish. We don't have too much running. Basically some stuff at the main factory, and like I took well, a bunch of encased industrial beams to make some belts and stuff, so we're at the second factory still building those back up. Basically empty the container. So that covers fuel production. It's foggy at night here. I didn't realize that. So this is the big desert canyon. I did put in some quality of life improvements. See the ramp here and here. At one point I was thinking of trucking, because where the oil fields were over in that direction. I was thinking of trucking plastic and rubber back. But they're moved now. They're over in this direction. This is not turned on yet, but yeah, there's water here, but it's shallow enough that you can drive through it. So there's 10 of these. I believe these are producing rubber, and we actually need a little more rubber than that. We kind of need 42 rubber and 42 plastic oil refineries. We only can get 4. Well, this is currently producing 60. I need to go get a bunch of power shards and push these all to 200%, so they'll produce 120 per minute. Because each of these, I didn't set this up, huh? You should be rubber. We'll take 30 per minute. Oh, this is one of the first ones I did, and yeah, I never actually came back and set it all up. I wasn't sure whether I'd do plastic or rubber here, but yeah, either plastic or rubber takes 30 per minute. You get 30 rubber per minute out, you get 22.5 plastic. Alright, the sun's coming. So there's one here, there's one there, etc., etc. If 450 belt wouldn't hold 4. You need 480. So I'm sticking the output of 3 oil pumps onto a belt. And it's a bit far, but like the last few of these are with, in viewing distance of my base, so I figured let's just belt it, even though I did set up that whole floor for trucks. I will be using that. We'll be getting to that though. So here's the second one. Merge in. Here's a third one. And then we have a belt coming out here, and that's the most we'll be putting on that belt. And here, just for showing, we started off there. This is where we were making the compressed coal. We were belting it down to here. We kind of drove in this way. The first few were over here, and we're coming over here, and they go all the way actually over to here. Yeah, so that's that's where it is on the map. So here's the fourth one. You can see we have a new belt for that. 5 and 6 are right here next to each other. And that will be the end of the second belt putting stuff on. So here's 7, and that gets its own belt. A bit of a sandbar here. And here's 8. And there's 9 in the distance. It does get a little deep over there, so I'm trying to keep my car out of the deep end. There's a 10th one. I'm not using it at the moment because it would overfill one of the belts. So we got 9. Which would be 36 oil refineries. We need 40 of them for, or 42 technically, for either plastic or rubber. But like I said, it would overfill one of the belts if we put it all on one belt. So for now, we're getting 3 belts. Well, they're not full belts, but we need more. And we need, this is only the rubber, we need plastic. So this is, as I said before, we're right by our factory. You can see in the distance there is with the fuel we're providing for our factory. So this is coming out right where we had some of our original power production. This is still the normal fuel. I did not convert this to turbo fuel because, well, I think we have enough power at the moment, and that the sulfur that's over here I want to use in the factory, which you can see there. If worse comes to worse, we do have that second sulfur node back where we started. We could bring that over here. I'd have to make more room, but for the moment, we should be good. So I have the belts coming over here, joining where we have our fuel. Let's see if I can do this skillfully. There is another way. If I drive over there, you can actually drive around the cliff, and there is kind of a way up. It's narrow, but it works. This is narrower, but it's a little more direct. Let's get them here. There we go. Yeah, so this is our pre-factory for this second factory. This makes, or it did make, all the things we needed to make that factory, including, you know, the items for the belts, you know, plates, rods, encased industrial beams. I handmade some computers right here. Well, handmade. I used these two assemblers here. You can see the belt. One was making circuit boards, the other was making computers. Just because I think the fuel generators needed computers. But now, except for the computers, the factory is making most of this stuff much faster, but it's still convenient to pick up items there instead of like finding the storage chest up there that has the item you need. Although, for things like motors, I needed to go up there. Let's refuel here, because we're gonna need it. So on the map, I showed that far west location that had 4 pure oil nodes. Theoretically, each of those nodes could run 16 oil refineries if the node itself, the pump, had been overclocked to 200%. And yeah, here is like where that path into that ravine you can get around the edge of the cliff here. So I've set up production there as well, and that's going to be making all our plastic and some additional rubber, because yeah, and that I am planning on trucking back. So I've kind of set up this path. You can follow this wire here. It's relatively straightforward, you know, not too bad. There is a few tricky spots like here that I'm gonna have to really hope the trucks don't knock into each other and knock themselves off. But it's not too far. It's not as far as you would think. Next tricky part, if we're not counting freezes for saving. There's this kind of bridge here that's going to be a bit tricky to navigate. That's only a green power slug, so I haven't harvested him yet. I do have, I think, like 10 or 11 yellow ones in the trunk of this vehicle. Each one is good for 1 pump, so I just have to slap them in. Alright, we're nearly there. I built a ramp here to come down. It's a bit of a cliff. This is the last kind of weird part. We got these dunes that are a little weird to traverse. Hopefully it won't be too tough on the trucks. With the Explorer here, it's kind of fun. You get some nice jumps. And there in the distance you can see islands here with the oil. I've set up some truck stations here. There's 3 that are going to be for plastic. These 3 here. And then the one over here will be some rubber. And luckily this is shallow enough that we can drive over there. Sounds like you're underwater, but it's just the wheels. Yeah, so this is 15 oil refineries around one pump. It should be 16, but because of the Mark IV belts can only carry 450 instead of 480, they can only supply 15. There's another 15 there, another 15 there, and there's 14 over here. And the only reason this was 14 is because we have 2 of the oil refineries making fuel, and those ones take 60, so even 14 is a little more than can actually be supplied. But that fuel is being sent over to those truck stations so they can refuel the trucks. Now the Explorer makes it over here with, well, let's say using less than half a tank. Yeah, I used 16. So technically we don't really need the fuel, but you know, just in case. It does get a little deep here, so I kind of put some bridge tiles. Otherwise, you actually do get knocked out of the Explorer driving over there. But basically, we have the pump here. This I did overclock. I haven't actually ran it yet, but this should be 480 a minute with this overclock when it actually runs. This is not hooked up to power yet, but we split it out to all the oil refineries, combining them in groups of 3, and then putting them on the Mark IV belt, and that just comes around each group and makes its own belt. So the bottom 4 belts here will be plastic. Then I believe that one is rubber, and the top one will be fuel. The fuel I then split up and fill all 4 of the truck stations. And basically we got the same thing over here. This pump a little further away just because I came to the kind of beach area where there was enough room to set up all the refineries. This one's kind of set up narrow. We got the pump there, and there's 6 and 6, and then an additional 3 at the end, instead of, you know, 3, 3, and then 9. And let's see if we can make this here. This is the last one. This one produces rubber and then the fuel. And it's actually producing a lot more rubber than we need, and we're actually producing more plastic than we need as well. So at least for oil, or plastic and rubber wise, we can do both the computers and the detonators / cartridges at the same time. But this is all the plastic here, and then those 2 are the fuel. And well, this is taking a bit more time than I expected, but we are still well short of my normal length, which tended to be over an hour. But before wrapping up, let's turn this part on and see how it does. I mean, we're just gonna fill up those stations. I still have yet to set up the trucks. I've yet to set up anything in the factory. I'm gonna need at least a floor for just producing quick wire and another floor for producing the quartz oscillators, and then we'll need another floor for the actual computers and supercomputers. I'm hoping that would fit on one floor, but a lot of the stuff like the high-speed connectors needs manufacturers, and they're big, and I think I need like 20 of them. So we actually need to be needing 2 floors to get supercomputers, and then it should be one more floor than that will get us the Nobilisk detonators and the cartridges. And once you have the detonators, the cartridges aren't too bad. But that is our power coming in. Those truck stops are powered currently, so they will suck in the items. So I think we just need to hook it to there, and that will power everything else. So let's yeah, they changed. Is that should be connected to there. Alright, let's they don't let you put wires through things. They did initially, but that should hook everything up. Let's put the belts back. You can put things through the wires, you just can't put wires through things. Alright, there you see some plastic coming. How is... Yeah, so this has gone up by like 2,000. Yep. Save lag. So there you go, yeah. That's really the only belt that needs to be a Mark IV, but, you know, it was easier to just, take the encased beams and use that wherever needed, and then, that is a Mark I belt for input, and even that's faster than this needs. Once this backs up, then we'll be really producing things at the right rate, but you can see all the plastic coming in on those belts. They're not quite full yet, but like I said, yeah, things have to back up. Oh, here comes fuel. I was wondering where the fuel was. Yeah, the fuel is going to be few and far between. I did not need to use a Mark IV belt. I mean, I could have got away with a Mark II. Maybe, well, there's 2 of them. They should be outputting eventually 37 each. So we need slightly more than 60, but you can see the rubber coming, and that should hopefully be all going to the right spots. Yeah, and this will take a little bit of time to, like this one over here, it's gonna not get another 4 before it runs out, yeah. Until these all back up, which shouldn't take too long. And I do have storage over here, so the fuel will cache up any that isn't used. You know, hopefully only 15 or 20 per trip will be needed. Yeah, you can see this is... So each plastic thing is hooked up to one of these. And, yeah, I'll probably have 3 trucks running plastic back and forth. As long as... From what I've read, I haven't actually tested it or calculated it, but as long as you can do a round trip in 10 minutes, you can fill, you know, you're moving more than can fill these. So I'm pretty sure this is, you know, less than 5 minutes one way. We'll just have to get it over to particular drop-off points and then up with conveyor lifts to the floors that need it. Yeah, so that's the plan. Or at least, you know, here's how I'm gonna make the rubber and plastic that we're gonna need. Now it's just, you know, building out the floors. So that may take me a bit of time, but when I'm ready, I'll make another video to show that off. I think I'll wrap this up here and say thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time with some more satisfying Satisfactory. See you then.